Alright, so I'm hanging all the doors up because I want to paint them in the backyard. And from what I understand, the lowers, like on these sinks right here, I have a marked sink 1 and 2. The lowers, I'm going to drill the holes in the bottom down here so you'll never see them. And then these longer uppers, I have drilled these in the top. And I've got these little cup holders to hold them. I had bought these hangers because I thought I could use just one at a time and use some extra ones in the house. But these doors are pretty heavy and it kind of flexes this out. So I've got double hanging here. I am going to go ahead and remove these hinges. I was going to tape around them. And I think these will be okay to take out. And then I'll label inside of this hole here what door this is. I'll put a 4 on it. And then I'll put all these in a bag specifically for each door and mark them top and bottom, so that I'll put everything back in the same spot. Because when Noah put this all together, he has everything lined up. And I'm not afraid of lining this stuff back up and adjusting the door to be level and plumb and whatnot. But if the less amount I could have to do that, the better off I am. And what I'll do is I'll have them staged right here. I'll have all of the drawers over on this makeshift table, and I'll probably tape off the garage because I don't want to paint those outside. I don't want to have to move them after I paint them. And the particular paint I'm using, it's this Benjamin Moore paint. You have to put 1 coat on, right? And you have to wait 24 hours for second coat. Don't know why, but it's not like a regular latex, I guess. So I'm going to paint the drawers right down here on this deal. It has been a little while since I've used this spray gun. And I took this apart a while back just to make sure how clean it was and see what kind of tip was in it. And it's the one that I used when I sprayed my house. So it's a 515, and the 5 is how wide it is. You double that, so it was a 10-inch spread on the width of the spray. And I think 15 is the orifice size. So from what I've read, I bought this little kit here on Amazon. You can see right here, it really wasn't very expensive, and it comes with a jillion tips and a filter that goes in the gun that I didn't even know was there, really. So from what I understand, this 211 is what I need. So I'm going to start with a 211, put a new filter in the gun, and then prime it, see if it works. And these are made to where if it gets a clog, and it seems like inevitably you do, you can turn it around opposite and you can spray the clog back out. Give this a quick little mix. Let's see, put it on prime. We're going to take this tip off first. So we're going to prime it from here to this waste pail first. So we have this on prime. And then we're going to turn this up until it comes on. It should suck through the machine. So I'm going to be super careful not to be wasteful with this. One thing I noticed about this gun is it ain't hard to be wasteful with it. So just to prime, I've got a little bit of that primer in there at $75 a gallon, or $60 a gallon. I'll probably strain that back in there here in a second. Now the next thing is to prime this gun. So we'll take it off prime. We're going to pull the trigger and turn it on. And we should have water come out first, maybe. if anything. Yeah. There. You could tell it started getting thick. Alright, we'll turn it on and we'll test spray it. Let's see, we'll crank it about midway here. Oh, I don't like that tip. Let's try a different tip. Alright, I could get that 211 to work. This is the 413. It's going to be tricky. Let's try it. That's going to be tough in the house. That's too much overspray. Well, I'm spraying now. 211 is what I need. Yeah. That's much better. So this spraying has proved to be quite the job. It's hard to hold this thing in my hand. It wants to twist around in my hand, so I can't hold it like this. I have to grip hard with these handlers and do it with one or two fingers. It's not like spraying a automotive type gun, really. I've gone through about a half of that gallon of paint, and I did have to thin it out with some water. I don't know how much of the inside of these cabinets I'm going to get primed, but I still have to paint the drawers outside. But let's see what we can do in here. So I kind of changed up how I'm painting this. I ran out of primer yesterday, so the tops of these drawer fronts, I didn't have enough to finish those. I got enough on all of these door fronts though, and they got good coverage on them, so I'm going to sand them, scuff them up a little bit, and then they're going to be ready to shoot some paint on them. The inside cabinets, I did not have enough primer to do what I wanted to do on there. So we're going to re-primer everything on the inside. I sanded it last night. And I think we'll be able to put our first coat of paint on this stuff today. Oh, it's nice. Alright, so that primer is looking good. It sprayed really well. It's pretty smooth, but what I'm going to do next is I have to caulk around every corner, because there are some gaps like that up there. You know, just all these areas right here is going to get caulk everywhere. So let's get started with that. All right, it's time for the real deal. Crank it all the way up. There we go. All right, we got that first coat put on there, and it turned out pretty good actually. You know, once you start spraying a bunch of these, it ends up being a little easier. This is the cabinet that's going to go above the refrigerator, and all of the drawers turned out pretty nice. You know, it looks good for one coat, but there's definitely imperfections, and it's not going to be glass smooth. You can kind of see the grain here. You can kind of see the grain here, but you know, that looks good to me. You can see some areas right here. Maybe you can see those that has some spatters in them from the gun. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this is. It is a gosh dang mess using this, especially somebody that doesn't know how to do it really well, hasn't done it a lot. The machine itself, this Graco machine, it works really well, and after using it a few times, I get the hang of what I need to do. Every time I'm finished with it, everything comes off the machine and it gets all cleaned out. I run water through the hose, through the pump, get everything perfectly clean, blow air through the hose. So when I go to prime it here in a second to put the paint in it, nothing's going to be in there except for paint. And so all you gotta do is prime it and you're ready to shoot. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I would say hanging these up on these coat hangers was a pretty nifty idea I saw on the internet. And this will be, these right here, these small ones are shelves on the inside, so it doesn't really matter if the edge gets painted. But the problem is when you spray them, it's kind of nice because you can do this. You can spray it, spin it around, spray this side, you know, control it. So the bigger doors, what I would do is I got this piece of wire so that I could do this, and it won't move around quite as much, right, when I'm spraying it, because it'll flat out, you go to spray here, it'll start spinning around in a circle. And the other problem with having them like this is when you put them on here, I thought initially it was going to be a nice way for it to dry. But what ends up happening on this rack that I made is when you put them on here, they spin around and they want to hit the other cabinet doors. And then I noticed with the larger ones, when I hung them up with a single hanger, it was really too much weight for these little cheap hangers. But the benefit of it is I could spread these out like this and they won't spin back and forth. So that's pretty cool. You just have to spread them out like that. And the first coat on the inside, that really turned out well. It really looks professional, even though I haven't done it but once. So I got paint everywhere. Matter of fact, I'm really considering, it's really difficult to get up inside of here. The faces are going to be the only thing that generally show, but I might take it and roll this paint inside those lower cabinets to put a real good heavy thick coating on it. And it says to wait 16 hours to second coat, and it's been over 16. And reading about that, this particular paint by Benjamin Moore, it takes that long to dry, and if you can coat over it again in 4 or 5 hours because it's tacky to the touch, but evidently the first coat can't evaporate so that it can dry, whatever it has to do. And I don't know if I'm supposed to put a little sand on this. I might look for any runs and sand those down, but other than that, I'm not going to really sand much. All right, so let's get outside and paint those doors and drawers, put the second coat on those, and we'll second coat the inside of here. And I will say that it is, you get covered in this. I probably should put if I was doing this for a living, I would put a cover on because it gets everywhere on you. When you're spraying inside a cabinet like this, it's coming right back at you. Well, I'll show you here in a second. And I am still using that 211 tip. I don't really know why it had such a problem spraying at first when I first sprayed the primer. And I'll have to admit that I like spraying it like a car where the fan goes out like this. I'm just used to it. It feels right. I think they could make a high pressure hose a little easier to manage. All right, before I hook all this up, I think I'm going to take a quick look and see if there's anything I want to sand on anything here at all. So let's check that out. I'll use a couple of new 320s if I see anything. Yeah, that does have a spot right up in here. Maybe I'll put some stuff in that. So I'm using some high strength 3M small hole repair. It's just a spackle, and it's got a little sanding pad on it. But it doesn't take long for that stuff to dry. Yeah, these all look really good. Yeah, so I think I'm going to just light sand all of this real quick. One thing about this is it takes forever. The prep work takes a long time, all the way from your initial kind of sanding, filling any missed holes, hanging everything up, putting these hangers on them, and you end up kind of prepping between each coat. Quite the job. Nice. Get any air out of it. Really see if you missed a spot. It's nice. All right, second coat on, and I am extremely happy with that. It laid down really nice. Hope I didn't miss anything. What really turned out nice is these out here. I mean to tell you, I don't think I could have done it any better. Super hard to see, but they all came out fantastic. So I'm going to take all these and put them back inside the garage, hang everything back up in there. They're all pretty much dry to the touch, really, and but it takes a full 16 hours to kind of cure. So let's put all this stuff back inside the garage.